The emergency signal came at 400 hours Earth Standard Time. Captain Doyen was drinking his morning coffee when the ship's AI announced incoming distress calls from Colony 7. He dropped the cup. Something in the AI's tone told him this was not a drill. Colony 7 sat on the planet humans called Sejong, a beautiful world with purple skies and 2 moons. 140,000 people lived there. Families, children, scientists, farmers, teachers. People building a new life far from Earth. Captain Doyen commanded the reconnaissance vessel Taijong. His ship was small and fast, designed for exploration and information gathering, not for war. He ordered maximum speed toward Colony 7. The journey would take 12 hours. Those 12 hours felt like 12 years. When the Taejong finally dropped out of warp drive at the edge of the Sejong system, Captain Doyen saw the fires first. Entire sections of the colony burned. The defensive platforms that should have protected the planet were twisted metal wreckage floating in orbit. His tactical officer began scanning for survivors. The numbers made no sense at first. Population readings showed only 4,000 life signs. Where were the other 136,000 people? Captain Doyen sent landing parties to the surface. What they found would haunt them forever. The alien attackers had not simply destroyed military targets. They had hunted civilians. Schools were bombed while classes were in session. Hospitals were shelled with patients still in their beds. Residential areas were burned street by street. One of Doyen's officers found a playground. Small bodies lay scattered around the swings and slides. The officer vomited and could not stop crying. Captain Doyen ordered him back to the ship, but the young man refused. Someone had to document this. Someone had to record what happened here so the galaxy would know. The survivors told their stories between sobs. The attack came without warning. Velkari warships appeared in orbit and immediately opened fire. The Velkari were a reptilian species, strong and aggressive. They held significant military power in the galaxy. When Colony 7's governor tried to surrender and negotiate, the Velkari commander laughed and cut the transmission. A young woman named Bora survived by hiding in the underground mining tunnels. She was an engineer, smart and skilled. When the attack started, she was working deep below the surface. She heard the explosions above, felt the ground shake. When she finally emerged 16 hours later, her entire neighborhood was ash. Her sister was dead. Her nephew was dead. Her friends were dead. Captain Doyen spent 3 days at Colony 7. His crew recorded everything: videos, photographs, testimony from survivors. Medical scans showing cause of death. They found evidence of execution-style killings. Elderly people shot in their homes. Medical staff murdered while trying to help the wounded. This was not combat. This was massacre. The data files filled the ship's storage. Captain Doyen encrypted everything and sent copies to Earth to the military command, and to Ambassador Heejin at the Galactic Council station called Nexus Prime. Ambassador Heejin had represented humanity at the Council for 7 years. She believed in diplomacy, in peaceful solutions, in the power of law and justice. She had spent those 7 years building relationships with dozens of alien species, earning respect and trust for humanity. When she received Captain Doyen's files, she locked herself in her office and watched every recording, all 43 hours of footage. She saw the burned children, the murdered doctors, the systematic destruction of an entire civilian population. When she finished, she sat in silence for an hour. Then she scheduled an emergency session of the Galactic Council. The council chamber was enormous, a circular room that could hold representatives from all 47 member species. Ambassador Heejin stood at the central podium. Above her, holographic displays showed the evidence from Colony 7. She did not editorialize. She simply let the images speak. The council representatives watched in silence. Some looked away. Others made sounds of distress. The insectoid Charathi delegate covered their optical sensors. Even the most hardened military species seemed disturbed. Then the Velkari delegate stood. His name was Speaker Throck. He was large even for his species, with dark scales and cold yellow eyes. He spoke in a deep rumbling voice that echoed through the chamber. "Regrettable," he said. "Truly regrettable. However, Colony 7 was established on disputed territory. The Velkari Dominion has historical claims to that system. We attempted diplomatic resolution, but the humans refused to negotiate. What happened was unfortunate collateral damage during a legitimate territorial operation. Ambassador Hyejin felt something break inside her. Collateral damage. They called the murder of 136,000 people collateral damage. There was no territorial dispute on record, she said, keeping her voice steady. No filing with the council. No diplomatic communication. Your ships arrived and immediately attacked civilian targets. This was not war. This was genocide. Speaker Throck shrugged, a gesture humans had taught the galaxy decades ago. The casualness of it made Hyejin's hands shake. The council debated for 3 days. Representatives gave speeches about peace, about understanding, about the need for measured responses. Some species called for sanctions against the Velkari. Others argued for peacekeeping forces. A few suggested territory exchanges to satisfy Velkari claims. On the 3rd day, the council arbiter announced the decision. The arbiter was a being called Luminar, a crystalline entity that supposedly represented perfect neutrality and wisdom. Luminar's voice rang like bells as it spoke. The council finds that the Velkari Dominion acted with excessive force. As punishment, the Velkari will pay reparations of 500,000 galactic credits to the human survivors. The Velkari government must also issue a formal apology. The council considers this matter resolved. The chamber erupted. Some delegates shouted approval. Others protested. Ambassador Hyejin stood frozen at the podium. 500,000 credits, a formal apology. For 136,000 murdered people. She looked up at Speaker Throck. The Velkari delegate was smiling. Actually smiling. Several other Velkari in the gallery were laughing quietly among themselves. The Chirathi delegate moved close to Hyejin as the session ended. Everyone knows why this happened, the insectoid whispered. The council fears Velkari military strength. They choose convenience over justice. I am sorry. Ambassador Hyejin returned to the human embassy in silence. Her staff waited for instructions. She gave none. She simply sat and stared at the star field outside her window. Back on Earth, news of the verdict spread instantly. Protests erupted in every major city. Millions of people poured into the streets. They carried signs with the names of the dead. They demanded justice. They demanded action. The Earth government convened emergency sessions. Military leaders met with civilian officials. Admiral Minho, the Supreme Commander of Earth's Defense Forces, reviewed all available data. He was known as a calm, careful strategist who avoided unnecessary conflict. But as he read the reports from Colony 7 and watched the Council's verdict, something changed in his eyes. Captain Doyen's ship returned to Earth. He delivered his report in person to the military command. At the end, he added his personal assessment. They murdered our people and the Council fined them credits. They are laughing at us. The system is broken. Ambassador Hyejin prepared to leave Nexus Prime. Before departure, she recorded one final message to the Galactic Council. She chose her words carefully. Her tone was cold and precise. Humanity joined this council believing in justice through unity. We believed that civilized species protected each other, that law mattered, that the strong would defend the weak. Today we learned the truth. The council protects murderers when justice becomes inconvenient. When the powerful commit crimes, you look away. We will remember this decision. The galaxy should remember too. Humans don't negotiate with those who slaughter our innocent. We don't compromise with murderers. We don't accept pretty words as substitute for justice. You had a choice. You chose wrong. The human embassy ships detached from Nexus Prime Station. As they activated their warp drives, Ambassador Hyejin watched the massive station shrink in the viewport. Beside her, Captain Doyen stood at attention. What happens now? He asked quietly. Hyejin did not answer immediately. She thought about Colony 7, about Bora, who lost everyone she loved, about the children who died in that playground, about Speaker Throck's smile. Now, she said finally, the galaxy learns what happens when you fail humanity. They think we're weak because we tried diplomacy first. They think credits can pay for genocide. They're going to learn they were wrong. On Earth, Admiral Minho issued classified orders to military research divisions. Projects that were theoretical became urgent priorities. Weapons development that violated Council treaties moved forward at maximum speed. The political leadership approved everything without hesitation. Humanity had entered the galaxy with hope and friendship. They had tried to be good neighbors, good partners, good council members. That era was over. The colony worlds began military buildup. Defense platforms were upgraded. Fleet production accelerated. In the underground tunnels of Colony 7, Bora stood among the ruins of her home. She held a piece of metal that was once part of her sister's house. She thought about the council's verdict. 500,000 credits. An apology. She dropped the metal and walked away. Behind her, the ruins of Colony 7 stood as a monument. Not to peace, not to diplomacy, but to the day humanity learned that in this galaxy, justice was not given, it had to be taken. 3 months after the council's verdict, every human ambassador left alien space. Every diplomat returned home. Every trade representative closed their offices and departed. Earth recalled everyone. The withdrawal was fast and complete. Human embassies on 47 worlds shut down in the same week. Security staff wiped all computer systems. They took everything that was human and left nothing behind. Within 10 days, humanity had no official presence anywhere in council space. The galaxy noticed immediately. Human corporations stopped all business with alien companies. Trade contracts were terminated. Technology licenses were not renewed. Human entertainment that had become popular across dozens of worlds simply disappeared from alien markets. The economic impact hit hard. Many alien companies had become dependent on human medical technology. Human agricultural methods had helped feed billions. Human art and music had found audiences across the galaxy. All of it stopped. Some aliens tried to maintain contact. Business partners sent messages pleading to continue work. Universities that had human professors begged them to stay. Even some council members reached out privately, suggesting that humanity was overreacting. Every message received the same automated response. Earth has no diplomatic relations with Galactic Council members at this time. Thank you for your message. Admiral Minho personally oversaw the military withdrawal. Every human warship left Council patrol routes. Defense coordination agreements were canceled. Joint training exercises were terminated. The human fleet consolidated around human colonies, creating a defensive perimeter that no one could cross without permission. The new Secretary of Colonial Defense was a man named J1. He was known as a hardliner, someone who had never trusted the Council. His appointment sent a clear message about Earth's new direction. In his first speech, J1 was blunt. The Council proved they cannot be trusted. They will sacrifice the weak to appease the strong. We will never again put human lives under their protection. Our security is our responsibility. Our justice is our responsibility. We stand alone. Deep in hidden research stations in Earth's asteroid belt, Dr. Yuna worked on projects that would have shocked the galaxy. She led the weapons development programs that had been restricted under Council treaties. Those treaties no longer applied to humanity. Her teams created antimatter torpedoes more powerful than anything in Council arsenals. They developed mines that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, making them impossible to detect. They built AI-controlled drone swarms that could overwhelm any defense system. And they worked on something called stellar-side weapons, devices that could destabilize stars themselves. When Dr. Yuna briefed Admiral Minho on the progress, she noted the obvious problem. These weapons violate 17 Council military treaties. If the Council finds out, they could declare us a rogue state. Admiral Minho's response was simple. We're not Council members anymore. Their treaties don't apply to us. While humanity withdrew inward, the Velkari Dominion grew bolder. They attacked the Erevian Republic, a peaceful species of amphibious beings. The assault was brutal and familiar. The Velkari targeted civilian populations. They destroyed cities. They hunted refugees. The Erevians sent desperate calls for help to the Council. They broadcast evidence of war crimes. They begged for intervention. The Galactic Council met in emergency session. They debated for days. In the end, they issued economic sanctions against the Velkari and published strongly worded statements condemning the violence. They sent no military forces. They took no real action. The pattern from Colony 7 repeated exactly. Back on Earth, Bora watched news reports of the Erevian suffering. She saw the footage of Erevian children running from plasma fire, just like human children had run on Colony 7. She saw cities burning, families dying. She contacted the other Colony 7 survivors, and together they made a decision. They would create a broadcast that the galaxy could not ignore. They collected all the footage from the massacre, the unedited versions that showed every horrible detail. They compiled testimony from survivors. They added the Council's verdict at the end. Then they transmitted it on every galactic frequency they could access. The message was simple and devastating. It showed exactly what the Council called regrettable collateral damage. It showed what excessive force actually meant. And it ended with Bora speaking directly to the camera. The Council called this acceptable. They fined the murderers' credits and considered the matter closed. Now watch as they fail to protect the Eurivians too. Watch as they fail to protect you. Because if you're small, if you're weak, if you're inconvenient to defend, the Council will let you die. The broadcast spread like fire through the galaxy. Billions saw it within days. Protests erupted on Council member worlds. Citizens demanded their governments take real action. They questioned why the Council existed if it could not protect the innocent. The Council tried to ban the broadcast. They claimed it was inflammatory content that encouraged violence. But the ban only made more people want to see it. The footage spread faster after the Council tried to suppress it. Multiple alien species attempted to contact Earth. The Chirathi, who had sympathized with humanity during the Council vote, sent a formal apology. Trade partners offered better deals. Some Council members privately admitted the verdict had been wrong. Every message received the same response. Earth was not interested in apologies. Earth was not interested in better trade deals. Earth was done with the Council. Commander Soman ran humanity's new border patrol. She was Captain Doyen's former tactical officer, promoted because of her skill and dedication. Her orders were clear. Monitor all approaches to human space and report any potential threats immediately. One day, her sensors detected 3 Valkyrie warships approaching the human colony of Hansel II. The ships were in formation with weapon systems active. They were not in human space yet, but they were moving directly toward the border. Soman sent an immediate report to Admiral Minho. She recommended deploying additional forces to Hansel II as a precaution. The Admiral's response surprised her. Deploy forces as recommended. If the Valkyrie cross into human space, engage immediately. No warnings. No negotiations. Soman read the order twice to make sure she understood correctly. The Admiral was authorizing combat if the Valkyrie violated the border by even a small amount. This was a significant change from previous engagement rules. The Valkyrie ships approached the border slowly. They were clearly testing humanity's response. Would the humans back down? Would they negotiate? Would they file a complaint with the Council? The 3 warships crossed the border by exactly 1 kilometer. It was barely a violation, obviously intentional. They were seeing what humanity would do. Commander Soman's fleet responded within seconds. Human ships dropped out of warp directly around the Valkyrie vessels. The engagement was short and brutal. New weapons technology that the Valkyrie had never seen before tore through their shields. Antimatter torpedoes destroyed all 3 ships in less than 4 minutes. There were no survivors. No wreckage large enough to analyze human weapons. Nothing left but debris and radiation. The galaxy watched the sensor recordings in shock. The Valkyrie Dominion had one of the most powerful military forces in known space. Their warships were feared across dozens of systems. Humanity just destroyed 3 of them as easily as swatting insects. The Galactic Council convened yet another emergency session. Speaker Throck was furious. He demanded human accountability for what he called unprovoked aggression. Other Council members expressed alarm at humanity's military capability. Some called for sanctions. A few argued the Valkyrie had provoked the response. The Council arbiter Luminar sent an urgent message to Earth requesting explanation and immediate dialogue. Admiral Minho responded personally. His message broadcast on all galactic frequencies. He wanted everyone to hear this. The Valkyrie ships violated our sovereign space with weapons armed. We defended our territory. We gave no warnings because they gave no warnings at Colony 7. We showed no mercy because they showed no mercy to our civilians. This is not negotiable. This is not a discussion. Stay out of human space and we'll stay out of yours. Test us again and the response will be identical. The message was clear and cold. Humanity was not bluffing. They were not trying to intimidate. They simply stated facts. On Earth, public reaction was mixed. Some celebrated the military victory. Others worried about escalation. But one thing unified almost everyone: satisfaction that the Valkyrie finally faced consequences. Bora watched the news reports with complicated feelings. She was glad the Valkyrie suffered losses. They deserved it. But she also wondered what this meant for the future. Would this lead to war? Would more people die? Ambassador Heejin, now working as Earth's Colonial Relations Coordinator, held a private meeting with Colony 7 survivors. They had requested the meeting to ask one question. Is Earth preparing for war? One survivor asked directly. Heejin chose her words carefully. We're preparing to ensure what happened to Colony 7 never happens again. To any human, anywhere. We won't rely on the Council for protection. We won't trust others to defend us. We will defend ourselves, Bora asked the harder question. What about the Erivians? The next species the Velkari attack? Will we help them? Heejin's expression was unreadable. That depends on whether they're willing to help themselves. The Council won't protect them. They need to understand that. They need to stop begging for protection and start demanding it. 3 days later, a small ship appeared at Earth's orbital defense perimeter. It broadcast identification codes for the Erivian Republic. The ship requested permission to approach and deliver a message. Admiral Minho authorized their approach personally. The Erivian ship docked at a military station. 4 Erivians emerged, 1 ambassador and 3 military commanders. They looked tired and desperate. Their message was simple but significant. Our people are dying. The Council does nothing. We saw what you did to the Velkari ships. We need that strength. We need that resolve. Teach us how to fight. Help us defend ourselves. The request went to Earth's government immediately. Arguments began. Some officials said humanity should maintain isolation. Others saw an opportunity. The debate raged for hours. Finally, Ambassador Heejin spoke. The Council abandoned them just as they abandoned us. They're asking for help, not charity. They want to learn to defend themselves. Maybe it's time the abandoned find each other. The vote was close, but the decision was made. Earth would help the Erivians. But not just the Erivians. They would extend an invitation to any species that had been failed by the Council. Within a month, representatives from 7 species arrived at a secret location on Earth's moon. They met in an underground facility the Council didn't know existed. Ambassador Heejin addressed them all. The Council protects the powerful and sacrifices the weak. They preach peace while enabling monsters. We're not here to join the Council. We're here to build something better, an alliance that protects its members, a coalition willing to act when justice demands it. They called it the Coalition of Free Worlds. The principles were simple. Attack one member, face all members. No tolerance for genocide. Democratic decisions. Right to self-defense above all else. 7 species signed the charter that day. Earth provided military training. The coalition established a command center on Mars. And in the shadows of Earth's asteroid belt, Dr. Yuna prepared to share defensive technology with their new allies. The galaxy was changing. The old order was crumbling, and humanity was building something new from the ruins. 6 months after humanity left the Council, the galaxy looked completely different. The Coalition of Free Worlds was growing. Species that had suffered under Council inaction were finding each other. They were building something the galaxy had never seen before. Commander Taehyung was Earth's youngest fleet commander. He was only 32 years old but had proven himself brilliant in tactical scenarios. Admiral Minho assigned him a difficult task: train the Erivian military to fight against the Velkari. The Erivians were natural warriors in water environments. They could fight beautifully in oceans and rivers. But space combat was completely different. They needed to learn human tactics, human weapons, human strategies. Taehyung approached the training with patience and respect. He did not treat the Erivians as inferior. He treated them as partners who simply needed different skills. The Erivians responded well to his methods. Your people are strong, Taehyung told the Erivian trainees during one session. You have courage. You have honor. We're just teaching you how to use those qualities in space. The Velkari think you're weak. Let's prove them wrong. The training lasted 3 months. Erivian crews learned to operate human-designed weapon systems. They practiced fleet formations. They ran combat simulations against Velkari tactics. By the end, they were ready. Dr. Yuna's research division shared technology with coalition members. Not the most advanced weapons, but enough to make a difference. Shield enhancements that could resist Velkari plasma cannons. Electronic warfare systems that could jam enemy sensors. Better propulsion systems for faster movement. The coalition was becoming a real military force. Meanwhile, the Velkari Dominion prepared another attack. Intelligence reports showed them building forces near the Neuron system. The Neuron were peaceful traders. a species that had never fought a war. They would be easy targets. Commander Soman ran Coalition intelligence now. She tracked Velkari movements carefully. When she saw 12 Velkari warships gathering near Neron space, she knew what was coming. "They're going to hit the Neron homeworld," she reported to Admiral Minho. 12 ships. The same pattern they used against Colony 7 and the Erevians. Admiral Minho called an emergency meeting of the Coalition Military Command. Representatives from all member species attended by video link. The room was filled with different alien faces on different screens, but they all showed the same expression: determination. "The Velkari are going to attack the Neron," Admiral Minho explained. "This is our first real test. Do we stand together? Do we protect a coalition member with force? Or do we back down?" The vote took less than 5 minutes. Every species voted yes. They would defend the Neron. They would face the Velkari fleet. But Admiral Minho had a plan that went beyond simple defense. "We're not just going to stop them," he said. "We're going to show the galaxy what happens when you threaten coalition members. We're going to make the Velkari afraid." Captain Doyen commanded the coalition fleet. He had 20 ships under his direct control, 12 human vessels, 5 Erevian frigates, and 3 ships from the Quillar, a hive mind species whose colony ships had been destroyed by pirates while Council forces watched. The trap was set carefully. Coalition forces positioned 12 ships in obvious defensive positions around the Neron homeworld. Long-range sensors would detect them easily. The Velkari would see a force equal to their own. 30 more coalition ships waited in stealth positions throughout the system. Hidden behind moons, lurking near asteroid fields, completely invisible to enemy sensors. The Velkari fleet arrived confident and arrogant. 12 warships against 12 defenders, fair odds by their calculation. Speaker Throck himself commanded the Velkari flagship. He opened communications with the coalition forces. "Surrender the world and depart. This is your only warning," Captain Doyen responded calmly. "You've been warned before about attacking coalition members. You chose not to listen." The Velkari attacked immediately. Their plasma cannons fired in coordinated volleys. The visible coalition ships scattered, appearing to retreat in disarray. Some took damage. One Erevian frigate's shields collapsed completely. Speaker Throck laughed in his command chair. "They run like prey. Pursue and destroy them." The Velkari fleet broke formation to chase the fleeing coalition ships. They spread out across the system, each warship hunting what looked like easy targets. Then the trap closed. 30 coalition ships decloaked simultaneously. They appeared from every direction, surrounding the scattered Velkari fleet. The hunters became the hunted in an instant. What happened next shocked every military analyst who studied the battle recordings. Human antimatter torpedoes bypassed Velkari shields completely. The new weapons Dr. Yuna's teams had developed proved devastatingly effective. AI-controlled drone swarms overwhelmed Velkari point defense systems. Quiller boarding teams used teleportation technology to appear inside 3 Velkari ships, taking them intact. The Erevian crews that Commander Taehyung had trained fought with skill and fury. They remembered their own people murdered by these same Velkari forces. They gave no mercy. The battle lasted exactly 18 minutes. 8 Velkari warships were completely destroyed. 3 were captured intact. 1 ship escaped, badly damaged but functional. Captain Doyen deliberately let that 1 ship go. Someone needed to carry the message back to the Velkari Dominion. Someone needed to tell them what happened here. Admiral Minho broadcast a message on all galactic frequencies as the battle ended. He wanted everyone to hear this, not just the Velkari. "This is Admiral Minho of the Coalition of Free Worlds. Today the Velkari Dominion learned what the Galactic Council refuses to teach. There are consequences for genocide. There is punishment for murder. The Coalition defends its members with overwhelming force. We don't negotiate with murderers. We don't debate with those who slaughter innocents. We act. Let this be a lesson to anyone who considers attacking Coalition members." The broadcast included full battle footage. Every species in the galaxy could watch Coalition ships destroy the feared Velkari fleet. The military superiority was undeniable. Reaction across the galaxy was immediate and divided. The Galactic Council convened in chaos. Some species celebrated the Velkari defeat. Others expressed horror at the violence. Many council members privately contacted the Coalition, asking about membership requirements. The Velkari Dominion issued threats of total war. Speaker Throck demanded the Council sanction humanity and its allies for unprovoked aggression. He called for military action against Coalition space, but Luminar, the Council arbiter, made a calculated decision. The crystalline entity had analyzed the battle data carefully. The Council lacked the military power to enforce sanctions against the Coalition. Any attempt would likely fail and make the Council look even weaker. Luminar refused to authorize sanctions. The Velkari were furious but powerless. Within a week, 4 more species applied for Coalition membership. Within a month, 10 species wanted to join. The Coalition was becoming as significant as the Council itself. Bora stood in the Coalition Command Center on Mars, watching the star map update as new members joined. The facility was enormous, filled with beings from dozens of different species working together. Ambassador Heejin approached her. "Is this what justice looks like?" Bora asked quietly. Heejin considered the question carefully. No. Justice would have been the Council protecting Colony 7 in the first place. This is what happens when justice fails. This is what the abandoned do when the powerful won't protect them. Bora watched the tactical displays showing Coalition ships deploying across multiple systems. "Do you think the Velkari will try again?" "I think they'll consider the cost," Heejin replied. "We destroyed a third of their forward fleet in 18 minutes. We captured 3 of their ships, which means we now have their technology and tactical data. They're not stupid. They'll think very carefully before attacking another Coalition member." On the planet Velkara Prime, Speaker Throck faced his own military commanders. The loss was humiliating. The Velkari had considered themselves one of the galaxy's strongest military powers. Now they looked weak. "How did they destroy us so easily?" Throck demanded. His chief military advisor was blunt. "Their technology is better. Their tactics are better. Their coordination is better. They trained the Eurivians, who we thought were weak prey. They anticipated our every move. We underestimated them completely." Throck stared at the battle recordings for hours. He watched his ships destroyed again and again. The humans had not just won. They had made it look easy. Back on Earth, Dr. Yuna analyzed the captured Velkari vessels. Her teams found interesting data in the ship's computers. Battle plans for future attacks. Lists of target species. Proof of systematic planning for multiple genocides. She brought the information to Admiral Minho. They were planning to attack 6 more species in the next year. All of them weak. All of them without strong allies. They had a whole strategy for conquest through terror. Admiral Minho copied all the data and transmitted it to the species on the target list. Each one received a personal message. "The Velkari plan to attack you next. The Council would not have protected you. The Coalition offers an alternative. Join us." 5 of the 6 species applied for membership immediately. Commander Taehyung celebrated with his Eurivian trainees after the battle. They had performed perfectly under real combat conditions. The Eurivians were emotional, their amphibious features showing expressions of joy and pride. "You fought with honor," Taehyung told them. "You protected the Neuron. You proved that training and determination can overcome raw strength. Your people should be proud." One Eurivian commander approached him privately. "We could not have done this without human help. Without your training. Without Coalition weapons. We owe you everything." Taehyung shook his head. "You owe us nothing. We helped because it was right. Because the Council failed you just as they failed us. We're stronger together." The Coalition continued to grow. New members brought new resources. New technologies. New perspectives. The Alliance was becoming something remarkable. A true democracy where every species had equal voice regardless of size or military strength. The Galactic Council watched nervously. They were losing influence and members. Some species belonged to both the Council and Coalition. Others were leaving the Council entirely. Luminar sent a message to Earth. The Arbiter's crystalline voice sounded almost sad. "You are building a rival to the Council. This will divide the galaxy," Admiral Minho responded personally. "The galaxy is already divided. Between those who commit atrocities and those who suffer them. Between those who enforce justice and those who merely discuss it. We didn't create this division. We just chose a side. The Battle of Neuron Prime became famous across the galaxy. Military academies studied the tactics. Diplomats debated the implications. Citizens argued about whether the Coalition's actions were heroic or dangerous. But for the species who joined the Coalition, there was no debate. They had protection now. Real protection. Not promises or sanctions or strongly worded statements. Actual military power willing to defend them. The message was clear. The coalition of free worlds would protect its members with overwhelming force. And the galaxy was learning that sometimes peace requires strength, and justice demands action. 3 months after the Battle of Neuron Prime, the coalition had 23 member species. The Galactic Council was losing power and influence every day. Trade routes were changing. Species were choosing sides. The galaxy was divided between those who trusted the Council's diplomacy and those who believed in the coalition's strength. Deep in Valkyrie territory, Speaker Throck planned revenge. The defeat at Neuron Prime had humiliated his people. But the Valkyrie were far from defeated. They still commanded massive military forces across dozens of systems. Throck called his military commanders together. "We cannot fight the coalition directly," he admitted. "Their technology is better than we expected. But we don't need to fight them directly. We can hit targets they cannot defend." His strategy was simple but cruel. Attack isolated human colonies that were not yet fully protected by coalition forces. Strike supply convoys. Destroy research stations. Make humanity bleed slowly. The first target was Hyosun Station. It was a small research facility studying particle physics near a dying star. Only 4,000 people worked there. The station had minimal defenses, just one light cruiser for protection. Dr. Kyungsu led the research team at Hyosun. He was a physicist studying zero-point energy. His work had no military applications that he knew about. He just wanted to understand how the universe worked. He had no idea his station was about to become a battlefield. Captain Ji-won commanded the cruiser protecting Hyosun Station. Her ship was called the Sejong, named after an ancient Korean king. She had only 200 crew members. The Sejong was fast and well-armed for its size, but it was still just one ship. The Valkyrie sent 6 fast attack cruisers to Hyosun. They entered the system at high speed, planning to destroy the station and escape before coalition reinforcements could arrive. It was a perfect raid target. Captain Ji-won's sensors detected the Valkyrie ships 30 minutes before they reached the station. She immediately calculated the numbers. 1 ship against 6. Standard military protocol said she should retreat and evacuate the civilians. But evacuation would take 90 minutes. The Valkyrie would arrive in 30. Ji-won made a decision that military historians would study for generations. She would attack. Her crew thought she was crazy. 1 ship could not fight 6. But Ji-won had a secret weapon that Dr. Yuna's research teams had recently developed. Quantum displacement mines that existed in multiple dimensions at once. The mines were almost impossible to detect and completely impossible to avoid. The Sejong accelerated directly toward the Valkyrie formation. Ji-won broadcast false surrender signals while secretly deploying the mines in the enemy's path. The Valkyrie commanders saw a single ship approaching and laughed. They expected easy victory. Ji-won flew her ship through the Valkyrie formation like a dancer. She moved unpredictably, deploying mines while appearing to run evasive patterns. The Valkyrie pursued carelessly, confident in their numbers. 3 Valkyrie ships hit the mines. The explosions were spectacular, tearing the vessels apart from multiple dimensional angles simultaneously. 2 more Valkyrie ships collided while trying to avoid the debris. The last enemy vessel managed to launch missiles at Hyosun Station before Captain Ji-won destroyed it with an antimatter torpedo. The missiles struck the station's residential sector. The explosion tore through 3 levels of housing. 237 people died instantly. Others were trapped as station atmosphere vented into space. Dr. Kyungsu survived, sealed in a laboratory section that automatically pressurized during the emergency. He could hear screaming through the walls. He could feel the station shaking as structural damage spread. But he could do nothing except wait. Coalition rescue forces arrived 18 minutes later. They saved 3,763 people. Captain Ji-won's ship was badly damaged but still functional. As medics evacuated the wounded, Ji-won remained on her bridge watching recovery teams search for more survivors. She knew she had won the battle. 6 enemy ships destroyed for the loss of 0 friendly vessels. Any military analyst would call it a brilliant victory. But 237 civilians were dead. People she had sworn to protect. Victory felt like failure. News of the Hyosun attack spread across the galaxy instantly. The Valkyrie strategy became clear. They would hit targets that could not be defended. They would kill civilians to terrorize coalition members. It was not war, it was terrorism on an interstellar scale. The Galactic Council issued another condemnation, another strongly worded statement, another meaningless gesture. Admiral Minho called an emergency meeting of the Coalition War Council. Representatives from all 23 species attended. The discussion was short. The vote was unanimous. The Coalition would end the Velkari threat permanently. The decision was called Operation Stellar Blade. The Coalition would not just defend against Velkari raids. They would attack the heart of the Velkari Dominion itself. They would strike Velkara Prime, the heavily fortified Velkari homeworld. The Galactic Council had never authorized military action against a member species' homeworld. It was considered unthinkable escalation. But the Coalition was not the Council, and humanity had stopped following rules that protected murderers. Not everyone agreed with the plan. Ambassador Hijin raised concerns in a private meeting with Admiral Minho and Counselor Jaewon. If we attack their homeworld, Hijin argued, we become what we're fighting against. We become the aggressors, Counselor Jaewon responded harshly. They slaughtered Colony 7. They attacked Hyosun Station. They've murdered millions across 17 species. When does self-defense become aggression? When we finally hurt them back? Admiral Minho raised his hand for silence. We're not targeting civilians. Every strike will be against military installations only. Shipyards, command centers, army bases. We'll give evacuation warnings. We'll minimize collateral damage, but we will act. Because if we don't, Hyosun Station is just the beginning. Hyejin finally agreed. Then we must be precise. This cannot become the massacre they inflicted on us. We have to be better than them. The Coalition assembled the largest fleet in its history, 192 ships from 12 different species. Human commanders coordinated the tactics. Alien crews operated the weapons. It was a true combined force. Among the crew members was Bora, the Colony 7 survivor. She volunteered as a tactical systems operator on a human destroyer. When asked why she wanted to join the most dangerous mission, her answer was simple. I want them to know we remember. Every single person they killed at Colony 7, every name, every face. We remember, and we're coming for them. Commander Taehyung led a special operations team with a critical mission. They had to infiltrate Velkara Prime and disable the orbital defense grid from inside. Without those defenses down, the main fleet would suffer heavy casualties. His team included human commandos and warriors from the Choshin species. The Choshin were a warrior culture with a strict honor code. They believed in facing enemies directly. Taehyung respected that, and the Choshin respected his tactical skill. They infiltrated using a captured Velkari supply ship. Dr. Yuna's intelligence teams had provided perfect forged credentials. The supply ship docked at an orbital defense station without challenge. The infiltration went perfectly until the final moments. As Taehyung's team planted explosives on the defense grid's power conduits, a Velkari security patrol discovered them. The firefight was brutal and close range. 3 human soldiers died. 5 Choshin warriors fell. Taehyung saw his people dying and made an instant decision. He would stay behind to manually detonate the charges while the rest escaped. His team protested, but he ordered them to go. He was the commander. This was his choice. As explosions rippled through the defense station, Taehyung sent his final transmission to the fleet. The path is clear. Make it count. The Coalition Armada dropped from hyperspace in perfect formation. Velkara Prime's defenders scrambled to respond, but their orbital defenses were crippled. The battle unfolded with brutal efficiency. Coalition forces struck military targets with incredible precision. Antimatter torpedoes destroyed shipyards where Velkari warships were built. Railgun bombardments flattened army bases. Fighter wings eliminated aerospace defense positions. Admiral Minho personally monitored every strike. Civilian areas remained completely untouched. Evacuation warnings broadcast continuously in multiple languages. The Coalition was not here to commit genocide. They were here to break the Velkari's ability to attack others. Captain Doyen led the carrier group that launched the fighter strikes. He watched his pilots destroy target after target. Military installations collapsed. Command centers burned. The Velkari capital sat defenseless below. The battle lasted 4 hours. Velkari military infrastructure was devastated. Their government was in chaos. Their fleet was scattered or destroyed. The dominion that had terrorized the galaxy for 2 centuries was broken. Then Admiral Minho gave an order that surprised everyone. All forces begin withdrawal. Mission complete. They were leaving. They had the power to destroy the entire planet, but they chose not to. They had won completely, but they chose mercy. As coalition forces prepared to depart, Admiral Minho broadcast a message to all Velkari on every frequency. People of the Velkari Dominion, your government led you into unjust wars. They committed genocide and called it expansion. They murdered innocents and expected no consequences. Today the coalition delivered those consequences. We could have destroyed your cities. We could have killed your civilians as you killed ours. We chose mercy you never showed us. Your military is destroyed. Your leaders' lies are exposed. You have a choice now. Rebuild as a peaceful civilization or test our resolve again. If you choose war, we will return, and next time there will be no mercy. The galaxy is watching. Choose wisely. The coalition fleet returned to friendly space. They had lost 1,847 personnel, including Commander Tae-hyung and his infiltration team. Memorial services honored the fallen. Bora attended Tae-hyung's memorial ceremony. She stood among thousands of people from dozens of species. They mourned a human who died protecting them all. She wondered if this was what justice felt like. It felt hollow. Good people died for it. On Velkara Prime, riots erupted. Velkari citizens demanded answers from their government. How had they been defeated so completely? Why had their leaders provoked enemies they could not defeat? Speaker Thrak was deposed in a military coup. The new provisional government sent a secret message to the coalition. They requested ceasefire terms. Ambassador Heejin read the Velkari message in her office on Mars. Captain Doyen sat across from her, still in his combat flight suit. Do we trust them? Doyen asked. No, Heejin replied. But we verify. The coalition will establish monitoring stations along their borders. Any sign of military buildup and we'll know immediately. And if they try again? Heejin's expression was cold. Then we won't show mercy a second time. Outside her window, the coalition fleet held formation above Mars. Ships from 12 species flying together. Warriors from dozens of worlds united in purpose. They had proven something important. Sometimes peace requires strength. Sometimes justice demands action. And sometimes mercy must be earned, not given freely. 6 months after the Battle of Velkara Prime, the galaxy looked completely different. The coalition of free worlds had 38 member species. The Galactic Council controlled fewer systems than at any time in its 800-year history. Power had shifted. The old order was dying. On Velkara Prime, the new civilian government worked hard to change their society. Premier Yolan led the reforms. The military was reduced by 70%. War crime tribunals prosecuted officers who participated in genocides. Reparations began flowing to victim species. Speaker Thrak and 17 high-ranking military leaders faced execution for crimes against sentient life. The trials were broadcast across the galaxy. Everyone could watch as even the powerful faced consequences for their actions. Not all Velkari accepted the changes. Extremist groups resisted the reforms. They sabotaged reconstruction projects. They assassinated government officials who supported peace. The new government struggled to maintain order. Coalition peacekeeping forces deployed to help stabilize Velkara Prime. Captain Jiwon, who had defended Hyosun Station, led a peacekeeping contingent. She walked the same streets where Velkari commanders once planned attacks on human colonies. The irony was not lost on her. Meanwhile, the Galactic Council faced its own crisis. On Nexus Prime Station, the Council convened with sparse attendance. 12 member species did not send representatives. They were staying neutral between Council and Coalition. Luminar, the crystalline arbiter, addressed the remaining members with unusual honesty. For 8 centuries, this council maintained peace through diplomacy. Now we face extinction not from external threats but from our own failures. We prioritize stability over justice. We protected the powerful instead of defending the vulnerable. The coalition exists because we failed. The admission shocked the assembly. Council arbiters never acknowledged mistakes. Councillor Vex, a reptilian species similar to Velkari, argued for military action against the coalition. They attacked a member species' homeworld. This cannot stand. We must respond with force. But Councillor Theris of the insectoid Kirathi species disagreed strongly. We violated our own principles first. We called genocide collateral damage. We abandoned victims when protecting them became inconvenient. The Coalition did what we lacked courage to do. After weeks of debate, the Galactic Council took an unprecedented step. They formally invited humanity to return. They proposed merging the Coalition of Free Worlds with the Council structure. The offer included major concessions. Humans would hold 3 permanent seats on the Council's executive committee. Military intervention protocols would be reformed to allow protective action. The Council would formally apologize for its handling of colony. We left to ensure justice. If the Council genuinely reforms, we should participate in that transformation rather than remain separate from Pride. The debate reached an impasse. Then something unexpected happened. Bora, the Colony 7 survivor, requested permission to address the assembly. She had no official position. She was just a civilian engineer. The government initially denied her request, but public pressure forced them to grant her 5 minutes. She stood before representatives from 38 species. Billions watched the broadcast across dozens of worlds. She spoke clearly and simply. I watched my family burn on Colony 7. I watched the Council call it regrettable and fine the murderers' credits. I joined the Coalition because it promised protection when words failed. The Council says they changed. Maybe they have. But they changed because we forced them to. Because we showed them the cost of injustice. Because we built something that made their way obsolete. If we rejoin the Council, we validate their system. We say the old ways work if you just reform them slightly. But the old ways produced Colony 7. They produced 17 conquered species. They produced Hyoson Station. The Coalition is not just military alliance. It is a statement. Victims don't have to accept injustice because the powerful find justice inconvenient. We don't negotiate with murderers. We don't compromise with genocide. We act, I vote, we remain separate. Not from pride. Not from anger. But because the galaxy needs what we represent. An alternative to power protecting itself. Her speech went viral within hours. It was broadcast on every news network. Discussed in every forum. Quoted by leaders and citizens across the galaxy. Earth's government voted on the proposal. The result was close. 312 votes for remaining independent, 287 for rejoining. The Coalition of Free Worlds would continue as a separate organization. However, Ambassador Hyejin proposed a compromise. The Coalition and Council would establish a joint peacekeeping force for emergencies. They would share intelligence on threats to galactic stability. They would create mutual trade agreements. 2 organizations cooperating when interests aligned, competing when principles diverged. Both the Coalition Assembly and Galactic Council accepted the compromise. The galaxy settled into a new structure. The Coalition maintained its core principles: military cooperation, mutual defense, and willingness to use force when necessary. Membership continued growing, eventually reaching 47 species. The Galactic Council reformed its protocols. They created an enforcement division with actual military capabilities. They prosecuted several species for past atrocities they had previously ignored. They tried to rebuild their legitimacy. The Joint Security Initiative combined Coalition and Council resources. They patrolled trade routes together. They responded to piracy. They intervened in humanitarian crises. Captain Doyen commanded the first Joint Fleet, a symbolic gesture showing cooperation was possible despite philosophical differences. Individual lives moved forward. Commander Taehyung was posthumously awarded the Coalition's highest honor, the Star of Valor. A memorial on Mars commemorated his sacrifice. Thousands of beings from dozens of species visited it, recognizing that sometimes individuals change history through single moments of courage. Dr. Kyung-soo returned to Hyoson Station as it was rebuilt. His zero-point energy research led to breakthrough power systems that benefited all Coalition species. He established a foundation supporting families of those killed in the Velkari raid. Captain Ji-won was promoted to Admiral. She took command of Coalition border defense. Her tactical doctrine of aggressive forward defense became standard across Coalition military academies. Bora declined multiple offers of government positions. She returned to engineering, helping rebuild Colony 7. The settlement was renamed New Sejong and became a symbol of resilience. She led the project to construct a memorial listing all 136,153 names of those killed in the massacre. Admiral Minyo stepped down from military command after ensuring the Coalition's defense. Infrastructure was firmly established. He accepted a position teaching strategy at the Coalition Military Academy, training the next generation of officers from dozens of species. Ambassador Hyejin continued as Earth's senior diplomat, managing the complex relationship between Coalition and Council. She worked to ensure both organizations' reforms actually materialized, using humanity's proven willingness to act as leverage when words proved insufficient. 10 years after the Battle of Velkara Prime, something remarkable happened. The reformed Velkari Republic applied for Coalition membership. The application triggered intense debate. Many species objected vehemently. The Eurivians especially opposed it. They had lost thousands to Velkari aggression. The Coalition assembled for a historic vote. Bora attended, now older with gray hair but still sharp-minded. She listened as Velkari Premier Yolan addressed the assembly. We cannot undo what our previous government did. We cannot restore the lives they took, but we have dismantled the system that enabled those crimes. We have held murderers accountable. We have spent a decade proving through actions that we changed. The Coalition's founding principle is that victims deserve protection. We were victims too, victims of our own government's lies. We don't ask for forgiveness. We ask for a chance to prove that change is possible. The vote was incredibly close. 24 species voted to accept Velkari membership. 23 voted against. The deciding vote belonged to the Eurivian delegation. Ambassador Tyrell stood. His amphibious features were difficult for humans to read, but his voice was steady. The Velkari murdered thousands of my people, but the Coalition gave us strength to survive. Now the Velkari ask for the same opportunity, protection and partnership. If we reject them, we become what we fought against. An organization that privileges the powerful and excludes those seeking redemption. Rivia votes yes, on the condition that Velkari Republic agrees to permanent monitoring and immediate expulsion if any aggressive actions resume. The Velkari accepted the terms. They became the Coalition's 48th member species. The Galactic Council endured, reformed but smaller. Several species preferred its diplomatic traditions to the Coalition's militant approach. The galaxy accommodated both philosophies. Some species belonged to both organizations. Others chose one or neither. Luminar sent a private message to Ambassador Hyejin. You forced us to remember our founding purpose. Even our pride must thank you, Hyejin responded simply. We never wanted to destroy the Council. We wanted you to live up to your principles. 20 years after Colony 7's destruction, the rebuilt settlement hosted an anniversary memorial. Thousands attended, human survivors, Coalition representatives, even a small Velkari delegation paying respects. Bora, now elderly, stood before the memorial wall. Her fingers traced names she remembered. Her sister Yunji, her nephew Junho, her neighbors, her friends. Behind her, children played. Human children born after the massacre, Trivian children whose species survived because humanity acted. Even a few young Velkari learning the history their government tried to hide. Captain Doyen, retired now, stood beside her. Was it worth it? He asked quietly. Everything we did. Everything we lost. Did we make things better? Bora watched the children play. Members of species that might not exist if the Coalition had not formed, had not acted, had not proven that justice sometimes requires force. Look at them, she said. Children from a dozen species playing together, protected by an alliance that actually means something. 20 years ago, the galaxy told us to accept injustice because the alternative was inconvenient. We said no. We built something better. She turned to face him, tears in her eyes but strength in her voice. We lost so much. We did terrible things to achieve this peace, but yes, it was worth it. Above them, Coalition and Council ships shared patrol duties in orbit, former enemies now cooperating, not because they agreed on everything, but because they learned the cost of failing to protect the innocent. The galaxy was warned. Humans don't negotiate with murderers, and in the end, the galaxy learned. When victims refuse to accept injustice, when the abandoned unite to protect each other, when good people choose action over empty words, even the oldest power structures must change or become obsolete. The Coalition of Free Worlds stood as a monument to that truth. Justice delayed is justice denied, but victims who refuse to accept delay can build the future their oppressors never intended. 50 years later, historians marked the Colony 7 massacre as the turning point in galactic civilization. not because of the atrocity itself, but because of humanity's response. The coalition evolved into one of the galaxy's most respected institutions. Conflicts still erupted. Pirates raided. Extremists committed violence. But the galaxy's response changed fundamentally. Justice became more than rhetoric. Protection meant action, not merely condemnation. Colony 7 was never forgotten. New Sejong became a center of coalition governance. Its memorial reminded everyone that civilizations are judged by how they respond when the powerful prey on the weak. And humanity, once the galaxy's newcomers seeking acceptance, became the species others looked to when words failed and action became necessary. The warning stood: humans don't negotiate with murderers. The galaxy learned to listen.